Now we're live.
Now we live,
baby.
We live on YouTube.
Okay.
We here streaming on our platforms.
You are live on the book.
MySpace.
YouTube #1 this year. Computers.
Go to your
Gotta turn my-
Instagrams.
Don't tell me what to do.
Got to turn my sound off.
We are live on the grams.
Live on the
I'm
gram.
all the way up.
Live on Facebook.
It's like we know what we're doing.
Hold on. Are you on Facebook yet?
Yeah, I'm there. In there like swimwear.
Come on, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you.
This
Thank
is
you.
what
Thank you.
episode four
Quattro.
of In the Stew.
In the stew, which we don't
In
know
the
if it's
stew,
going to
what
be
is
the
it?
name, but we're still doing it. Waiters make tips.
The good news is we're here, we're live, and we love you all.
And we're moving through all of
We
the
are
initial
sharing.
production issues where we share
Who is
everything out.
Sharon?
Got a great guest in today, but before I do,
Come on.
Yes, caller.
we need to run a little bit of what has been added into the studio this week as we continue on our journey.
Jody, can we get a shot of the king, please?
And the new additions.
The King, shout out Corey LaJoy in the #7 car.
Oh,
Brought
Richard
us a Richard Petty, signed Richard
Yeah,
Petty,
signed Richard Petty.
vintage memorabilia
Let
there.
the people see what's going
And obviously that's got to go over Jordan's shoulder because Mr. Black on black
on.
over there.
well, you know why I wear black all the time?
Go on.
You get a dress for a funeral when you're killing it, dog.
Hey, that was a joke of the day. I don't even need to do mine. He just got him in the chamber at
You
all
got a
times.
dress for a funeral.
We don't
Boom.
keep him
Killing
around
it.
for any real estate reasons. It's just
None
for the
whatsoever.
The
hilarity.
zingers.
Zero value add. Just here for comedic relief.
0.0. Exciting.
Look at the
Excited about
Instagram
the guest
people
today.
in the building.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of you motherfuckers not working right now.
How many of you
And
got
if you are, I hope
AirPods
you got
in?
headphones in. Otherwise, I just dropped an MF bomb at your place of business.
We got Lineberger in the house.
Yeah.
Lineberger, what up, Matty Ice?
What's up, everybody?
Welcome in, guys.
Do you think Matt Lineberger is watching with his sunglasses flipped up or down
They're
right now?
definitely
Up. The bill on his hat is flipped up. And
Matt, can we get you some protective eyewear, some PPE for your orthodontic practice that flips up and down? Do they have?
I'm
those?
sure he already has.
He
it.
probably does.
I'm sure he already
Yeah,
has.
that sounds on brand for him.
It's-
Listen, if you're
definitely on
watching,
brand.
wherever you're watching from, comment, say hello. We
yeah,
want
come
to
join us.
talk to you all.
We do.
We
We-
have a very special person in the building.
Ray,
this
I'm
evening.
I'm asking for your consent to reach over and touch your shirt. 'cause
Please.
The
Oh, thank you, bro.
That sleeve was gonna drive me crazy for the next 59 minutes.
Thanks, dog.
Yeah.
That's why you need to have some good friends
that's
around
right.
you, man.
Additions to the studio this
Yeah.
week as we continue to build it out on a
Yeah.
budget. Build it out on a budget.
we moved Uncle Richard from above your head.
That's correct.
Shout out to Travis Porter.
TP.
Yeah.
That's the Bring It Back gold record there from the days of Travis Porter's heyday, which is our college years.
Crazy.
If I could have all the money back from those vodka Red Bulls that I spent listening to Travis Porter, I'd be a rich
You'd be in
man.
a different tax bracket.
Boy, I'd be rich the kid for real.
Oh man.
Great time. Shout out Travis Porter. Shout out Charlie Rocket for that gift.
Shut
We've got some new additions to the stands, which are you can't see off camera, but those are important.
Yep.
And today we got some props. Unc came.
Yeah.
Our guest came with some props today.
A box of Topps
a
football cards.
Box of unopened Topps football cards from like the 80s.
Put me on this shot right here,
Yeah.
Joey. I think that's the closest one we have. I want to show
So
you
we'll be
all.
able to
There you
see
go.
that.
The other one, camera one.
There it is.
There it
Hey,
is.
so that some memorabilia continue to get built out.
Just so you know, I know you can hear us, but you're not on camera. But you got referenced as Steve Carell from the 40-Year-Old Virgin last week because you have all these toys that are unopened.
And we can't take them.
We can't take them out of the package.
Don't touch it.
Don't- and they're all the things that you wish you'd have kept when you were young,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
100%.
could still have access to today. All right,
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, who wants to do the introduction?
It's got to be
The
Wes.
man that needs no introduction.
the man that needs
But
no
we're gonna give him
introduction,
one.
the guy that hates social media, but is full of life advice,
Mhm.
business advice, sales advice, people
Unsolicited
advice,
advice.
unsolicited advice that has been a huge mentor in my life. We wouldn't have this office and this
Ooh,
studio
no.
if it wasn't for this gentleman.
Literally.
And it all happened by this guy hopping onto the dance floor at a foundation event and doing some of the coolest dances when nobody else wanted to venture onto the dance floor. We'll get to that story once on gets onto the show. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Nate Sipp,
y'all put some
go.
flames on the screen. Put some flames on the screen. Uncle Nate in the
Uncle
house.
Nate. Oh,
Look how
Hey.
smooth that was.
My man.
Yeah, smooth is not the word they're going to be saying at the end of this here hour, but welcome.
Ladies and
We get it,
gentlemen,
dog.
we got Uncle Nate in the house. How you feeling, man?
Well, I feel great.
Okay.
I got great news for you.
Uh-oh.
Really grateful to be here.
Yeah.
Shout out to my 121 Instagram followers.
What up, man? Let me see you.
Go
out
ahead.
If you're one of the chosen, put some flames on the screen if you know how to use
There's-
emojis.
Everybody in here's got that blue check mark, and I got the blue plus next to mine. It was like add more friends
Yeah, he
situation.
needs some
But
help.
Shout out to Uncle
Yeah,
Nate.
you
y'all.
guys go give Uncle Nate a follow. Nathan said, "What is your Instagram handle?"
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Because I got them on Heisman.
Okay.
I got 150 people. I just wait
So
down here.
are you private? Are you a private account?
I'm private. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a public figure. This is my first time on the internet.
He's a private figure, y'all.
Well, all we are doing right now is taking dumps into the internet right now. We are still in our testing phase. It's going into the black hole of the internet web space.
Everybody who's reached out to me about being a guest on the podcast, I've said, well, let's wait until it's actually.
It's actually a podcast, actually a show.
Through this first
Which reminds me, first day we've gone live on
We're
YouTube.
live on
So
YouTube.
we're
Yeah,
live
what up,
on
YouTube
YouTube for the
family?
first time. So some of you like YouTube subscribers have not been there. I've not been there for a while. Welcome to you guys.
Yes.
Throw up a little of your comments there. We can see all of them in our
We can see
jam
and
board
interact
here. We'll
with
get
all
to
of
you
all.
guys.
Promise.
Mari T says working on a flip right now. Shout out to you,
Okay.
Mari
What's
T.
up, Mari T?
Hey,
Um,
reps, baby, do it.
Yep. Shout out to Zach Muxlow down in Greenville who says the setup, the stew setup is fire. Some
Muxlow
flame
is his
emojis.
last name?
Yeah, Muxlow.
That's one hell of a last name.
So, Zach, if I mispronounced that, butchered that, I apologize. But really quickly to lead this in, I'm gonna hit you guys with the story of how Unc and I met.
All right,
All right.
beautiful.
So I'll try to bring the Cliff Notes. Foundation event.
Who is Cliff?
Clifford,
Clifford Notes.
which is
It
actually the
started
opposite.
already. It started already. Here we go. All right.
So foundation event, Andy Lee, punter for the Arizona Cardinals, has a great foundation that I'm going to butcher this as well. Unc, help me clean it up.
Madeline's
But
Fund.
Madeline's Fund.
Madeline's
provides housing for families who have kids in the NICU and the PICU
Yeah.
in Charlotte, which
Yes.
is really cool. So,
Really great foundation, easy foundation to support. So we were there, invited by Lineberger, shout out Matt, and you can only imagine who were guests of a NFL punter, right? So Carolina Panther guys there, Charlotte Hornet guys there. There was a big line in the fence between culture and blue collar or white collar.
Okay.
So all the different types of individuals were there, and the event is really prestigious and was run incredibly well. But when it was time post dinner to get to the dance floor, it was tight.
Well, that's always the most awkward transition of
That's
any
right.
event, right? Whether it's a wedding, almost a funeral, but I'm assuming you're not serving dinner and having a DJ at a funeral. If you are, invite me
I was
because that
gonna
sounds like a great time.
I sound
we'll
like my
talk about
type
that
of
later.
party.
Yeah,
when
we'll
you
talk-
get to my funeral,
Yeah,
please
we'll
do
talk
that.
about
Yeah.
but always the transition from like stuffy like dinner and like talking
question-
about fundraising and all
The
that.
question
isn't
at that
getting
point
fun
is
yet.
who's going to be the one?
Yeah,
There's always the
There's
first
always
person
one,
on the
yep.
dance floor
Fire starter.
that starts the fire, and it's not until the first person goes and then the second person comes to join it that there's like this psychological
Yeah.
shift,
Yes.
and
Yep.
everybody's like, okay, it's all right to go now,
Snowball.
and everybody
effect.
comes
Yeah.
in. So here I am thinking like, I don't know anybody here, but I'm about to murk this dance floor. I don't know if you guys seen me at a wedding, but
Is
like,
that the confidence you have?
I'm not going to be the one, but I'll probably be the two.
You'll be one of them.
That's right.
Yeah.
So DJ starts spinning, music comes out, and it's cultural and right up my alley. And I'm like, man, hold me back.
yeah. Can we
Next,
Can we stop saying cultural?
Or just give me an
Ray-
explanation
Yeah.
of what the culture
Hip
Ray,
hop
what,
was
he
on.
means black music, Ray. That's what he
Black
means. But he's
music,
trying
Ray.
to be politically
black
correct.
music.
It's okay.
And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
the beat drops, and it's about 15 seconds before this big, tall, balding white guy comes
Dude,
flying onto the floor.
Bald is a choice.
And-
Balding is not.
And next thing you know, like busting out all of the stops from dances.
Oh,
And-
there are many of videos on my page.
That's
That's
correct.
Uncle Nate
Oh,
dance.
yeah.
So the people know.
And it went from 0 to 100 real quick. And you got guys like Jonathan Stewart looking on one side like I want to dance but not sure.
Shout out to Jay
those
Stewart
guys
now.
are not.
Yep.
Those guys are not going to jump in just right away. Well, Unc jumps in. Next thing you know, he's doing the double dutch with Jonathan Stew, and like
Oh wow.
is absolutely igniting this experience, right? And
The invisible double dutch is the undefeated
it's undefeated.
party starter of all
Undefeated.
time.
Well, because it takes more than one, right?
It does.
Yeah.
So you need 3 people
Yep.
You need
to even set it up.
Just
Yep.
to even get it going.
So now you got
And
3
do you-
people on the
do
dance
you-
floor. You know that's happening.
do you warm it up a little
Oh.
bit to get the rope spinning?
It was all the
You got
things.
to? Okay.
If you want to go to Ray's page, look at the videos. You can look at the comments about who's the guy with
Who's
the
the best?
knees.
Undoubtedly, underneath his suit, he had knee braces on for the dance floor.
I have been wearing
Anyways,
knee brace under.
I look over at my
This is
wife.
the short or the long.
I woke over my wife. I said to Claire, I said, I don't know who that dude is, but I'm about to be that guy's friend. He is awesome. And here we are, like 7 years later,
Yeah.
and still great friends. Live on the same street.
Yep.
Shout out Weavers, and
Everybody gets a shout out
and play basketball every Friday. This was the office that you invited us into when we were just getting going on our real estate journey. I'll never forget squeezing both butt cheeks when I wrote the $450 checks times 2 to have an office space, thinking, God, I don't know if this is going to work.
Yeah.
Nate's just like, hey, if it doesn't go okay, I won't put you in a lease, and like we'll let you out of jail free.
But we knew that day at Madeline's Fund that the lease was getting signed. Time just hadn't caught up yet.
Time just hadn't caught up yet.
Yep.
So, man, excited to have you here. You mean a lot in my life, and to these 2 gentlemen to my right as
Absolutely.
well. So as we bring this on, dude, most individuals have no idea that you played volleyball at Florida State University. Like,
And this was before it was okay for men to play women's sports. Like it is now. So unpack that, because I had no idea. So
It's also pre-social media, thank God, because then you can't see my feet getting about 6 inches off the ground. But
Why-
yeah, defensive specialist in the back on the bench.
yeah,
But yeah, we were there.
you played left
It
out.
was a great year. It was
Yeah.
a great year. It was awesome.
so you had to be good to go to a ACC school.
Yeah.
Seminoles is no joke when it comes to level of athletics.
They are a joke when it comes to football.
Yeah, right now. Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. Don't worry, Jordan. You've already texted me 4 times about it, along with the other 155 of my friends, which I appreciate. Thank you, all of my friends.
Thanks,
I hadn't
friends.
talked to you in forever, but thank you, Florida State, for reconnecting me with my friends this year. I appreciate
They've done you a
That's
solid.
great.
Unc, why Florida State? Like take us back to that time and of the other choices that you had. Why'd you choose Florida State?
Great
Because you're from Pennsylvania.
I am. I want to clarify one thing because
Please.
I've had another 24 text messages on this because you guys have nicknamed me Unc, which I appreciate, and that has resonated and I've always been looking for my nickname. You guys gave it to me. It just fits everything.
You can't
Oh,
fight your
you
nickname.
You
when
can't
it
fight.
lands.
Like
can't
you
fight
can't.
it.
You got to be what you are. Is what
It's
you
a
are.
heavy mantle to carry.
Yeah, it really
It
is.
truly is.
But everybody wants to be the cool Unc. Like,
Yeah.
let's not lie.
But-
Everybody wants to be that.
I just want to clarify. It's been a big week for guys named Unc, right? So,
Okay.
like, guys named Unc, you may have seen on social media, have been doing
Uncle stuff.
some things.
That was a setup.
Uncle
Yeah,
all
Shannon,
day long.
Uncle Shannon, I appreciate that, but let me clarify.
Please.
I'm if you're listening at home and you're listening to the radio and you may not know that this isn't Shannon Sharp. I am not Shannon Sharp.
Yeah.
And so I want to
Yeah.
clarify, like, if we had to pick rapper names and
Yeah.
Shannon had to pick his, it might be like The Weeknd.
Right.
And like, I'm as fun as, like, you might pick mine. If his is The Weeknd, I might be The Weekday or
There you go.
The Work Week.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, to be clear, that was not
Yeah,
me
right, yeah. You don't know anybody named
this
Michelle.
past week. I
Yeah,
don't
that's right.
know any. Nope. Love you, Jen. You're doing great. So beautiful. Anywho,
There were some people questioning that, actually.
that's right. They were asking me
Well, you're easily confused, right? I mean,
on multiple platforms, including text and in person.
Was that you? Okay. Now,
Anywho,
yeah.
Oh,
Florida State.
well,
Florida State.
How'd we
so
get there?
yeah, listen, I'd lived in Florida for a couple years growing up.
Okay.
I had gotten sort of attention from Penn State,
which
or-
is the perennial. They're in the finals for national championships, right? That's best.
sure, or
They're like
Florida State,
Alabama football, yeah.
or I could have gone to like Denison College or something crazy like that. And if you go to visit the two of them, so I was like, oh, Florida, Penn State sounds really great. I went to Science Academy there as a kid and had their ice cream. This is awesome. I'm going to Penn State. I love it.
Yep.
And then you go to visit Florida State, and
yeah.
it doesn't take long when you turn to your dad and go like, hey, I think Florida State's for me. And then
Yeah.
he goes to the admissions office and they're like, what's the tuition? And it's like a third of what Penn State's is.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And he's like, well, I also think that might be where you're going. My mom didn't really like it because it was really far away.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
generally a very good decision for me and worked out very well.
Shout out to
Oh, that's
Maddie
good stuff,
Sipp.
man. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's- shout out to Maddie Sipp.
She came to my show.
My
last
mom,
week,
who
man.
shows up at more Ray shows than I show up. And we did have the time of our lives at my mom's 70th birthday party where Ray sang.
Yeah, it tore the
And-
house down.
After the rose ceremony was even better. We giggled for probably an hour
Really?
watching the comments in the video of us having the time of our lives, only to realize that us having the time of our lives doesn't look like it's the time of our lives to some other people. Like it's just all it is.
So
The
not
internet's
to
undefeated.
put you on the spot, but Florida
Uh-oh.
State is up there in ranks of the biggest party schools in
Uh-oh.
the United States. What is one of the best Florida State stories that you're capable of telling from
On the
from-
interwebs?
On the interwebs.
Well, seeing as how my kids may see this someday, I'll give you I have a good story for you. And if you Google it, it actually comes up. It used to be like the first thing that came up for my name for only 20 years. I just couldn't shake
Oh
it.
wow.
Right.
So you would Google my name and it would say Nathan Sipp was unavailable for comment because I had become the president of the Sigma Pi fraternity. Shout out Sigma Pi.
Shout out
That's
Sigma
what they do.
Pi.
Sigma,
Yeah.
Shout outs on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
internet.
yeah,
yeah.
All right. Shout out Sigma Pi.
You got to point at one of the
That's right,
cameras.
shout
too.
outs, all the shout outs.
All the shots.
I had gone to the national championship and beat Virginia Tech, and I have a lot of Hokie friends. So thank you, shout out
Mhm.
Hokies losing that game.
Yeah.
But I went to New Orleans and I was the president of my fraternity. And so
Okay.
when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Always.
And I left, and this
Okay.
place was no bueno. Like we were next to the biggest party bar on the biggest party street in the biggest party campus at the time. So
Jeez.
like it was a bad place to
Yeah.
try to study.
Yeah.
And so we
You
left.
dabbled. Yeah.
Right. So I left and I went to the national championship in New Orleans, had a time of my life, but we had to drive back because we couldn't afford a place to stay. So me and my buddy Nelson, we drove back that night and I come back and it looks like an absolute war zone had
Oh,
happened, but we
jeez.
won, right? So this is
Yeah.
all good news. We won,
Oh no.
but my friends had decided that it would be a good way to celebrate and kind of go WVU style and bring our couch out, which needed to go anyway, to be honest. Shout out decoration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't tell me they set it on fire.
They set it on fire.
Oh.
So the Tallahassee Democrat at the time, who was the trusted news source in Tallahassee,
Yeah.
reached out for a comment. I guess this
And
is
you were
pre-cell phone. Like,
you were unavailable.
where did they reach out?
You probably called your dorm room landline.
I didn't even have a landline.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have a landline. They called the fraternity house, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
They asked me for a comment.
Oh, you talking about the scene of the crime? They called the home.
But this is not a joke, guys. So they had won. It said Florida State wins, like national champions on the front page. And on the left-hand column of the front page of the Tallahassee Democrat, it has us burning a couch. My
Local
fraternity.
fraternity
It says Nate
burns.
Sipp unavailable for comment.
What?
Front and center.
And I go to interview for a job, and
That
this
is
is like
one hell of a
just when
story.
Google comes up,
Oh no.
and I'm interviewing for very exciting jobs, which you'll find I'm very exciting. Like I worked for an insurance company for 21 years, same company, shout out Federated Insurance. And I'm applying for jobs and people are KPMG guys like, I use this thing called Google.
and it found a news story.
And
where
I
you
found
guys
a news
burned
story.
couch.
Is this exemplary of your behavior? And I was like, I don't know about that news story, but I do now. Thank you very much. And so that lived for like 20 years.
Still
So,
trying to bury that down deeper and deeper in
like,
the
I don't
Google
know,
search.
Google AdWords. I know
Which
you know how to
page?
do this, but we might need to pay to bury it. Like maybe this will put it to page 2.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes.
Hey,
Our SEOs are going up.
That's it.
You mentioned insurance by day. There's other things that you do that are really more interesting than that. But how does one in a world where everyone's trying to find the next thing and move from job to job to job, like, why insurance, why federated, and what's the key to sticking with something for so long?
So you posted this today, because I didn't have anything to do with my life this morning, apparently, and was looking at your social media, that thing about what, 10 years, 20, what was it?
Yeah, it just compounded focus of one thing.
And I put on, as I woke up last night in the middle of the night, thank you, Bladder, shout out Bladder.
Shut up, Black.
Put
I
some
stayed
flames
up.
on the screen for Bladder.
Stayed up for a little bit, trying to think of like, what am I going to talk about here
Yeah.
at 2:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
And then, one of the things was the power of 5 years.
The power of 5 years.
And it's really the power of any period of time. But then you put that up, and I was like, man, clearly the universe
Yep.
intended that.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I forgot about this. Wait a second.
Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
He's full of secrets.
He's
This is
JR.
like a bunch of
show me your
ADHD
hands.
people trying to. Jay, here you go. So
Oh, what a
I was.
catch. Left-handed.
That was pretty
Come
good.
on, Jay.
Didn't hit the microphone either.
Yeah.
Wow. Athletes.
So I was golfing. Jay, do you golf? I don't even know if you golf.
No.
He's
I
the
don't.
greatest golf cart driver.
Yeah, I tell everybody I like most parts of golf: drinking beer, cussing, smoking cigars, driving golf carts.
Listening to
Don't-
good music.
Yeah, don't love to golf.
Well, this is a pretty undefeated move by you then. If you
Okay.
like to just drive around and
Yeah.
drink, to print your name on your own Titleist Pro V1s is pretty solid. Because I was out golfing last year. I've been holding this for a year.
Bro, what?
I
That's
go to the
amazing. I don't know if you
woods,
can
which
see
is
this.
where I would be,
I
and
don't know
where
if you
you would
see
be,
that.
and where Wes would be, and
Most
Ray,
definitely.
even if he talked about golf. But we go out there, and I look down and I pick up a ball, and what does it say on it?
You're welcome.
Jordan Smith.
Yeah, Jordan Smith.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to
Quantum.
myself,
That's a
this
quantum
man
moment
is as
right
bad
there.
as I am at golf. And he is here with me in one of my darkest moments out of the right-hand side in the trees with the
Wow.
poison ivy all
In
around.
the- in the
What are
trenches.
the odds? I mean, the only
Did
thing
you
I
know
do
that
on the
existed?
I had no idea. I mean, it's clearly not mine. you guys.
I know that.
Okay. Like,
As we got to tell everybody.
one of my favorite
gotta frame
pastimes
that.
with golf is just to go in the woods when I'm already there and search for lost golf balls. So what are the odds of finding ones with
this
your
dude will come
homie's
out.
name on it?
He'll come out like 5 minutes later,
Pockets
not
full.
understanding the etiquette piece of golf, where like
Yeah.
you're supposed to keep it moving for the people
Yeah, right.
behind you. And he's like, I found 4 balls.
he
it's
gets-
like being out there.
He gets home and,
Like,
and
that's
Claire
part
says,
of
"How
it?"
did you play
Right.
today?" And he said, "Well, I found 3 Pro V1s,
Right.
a max fly."
I'm net positive, Dave, on
Yeah.
golf balls
Those
today.
aren't the stats you're supposed to keep.
Yeah, that's right.
So he makes golf cheaper, but that's
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
great.
That's
Yeah, so staying focused on one thing. I think that, and we'll get deeper into all the things that I've learned and we've learned from you. But
Yeah.
one of the more impactful things is just about your ability to take, I don't want to say mundane things, but the idea of like sludging through the shit
Yeah.
in order to consistently move your life forward, develop good skills, treat people well, and in time that, being reciprocated right back to you in a multitude of ways. Did you ever at any point think about insurance not being your thing and look out at doing something
Sure.
else?
I mean, you'd be a crazy human if you admitted that you don't doubt what your choice is
Yeah.
on a daily basis. Like,
Sure.
if you don't think about what but somewhere, so this will go a little further down, but I have a saying that's Gadusu. It's get up, dress up, show up. The rest will figure itself out. Like,
Mm.
don't overthink.
Gadusu.
So
Good
if you're
news.
taking notes, write that down. Say
Good
that one more
news.
time, Uncle Nate.
I've been saying that in sales training for
Say that one
21
more
years.
time.
Get up, dress
Dress
up,
up,
show up.
show
No wonder he
Gadusu.
called us and told us we are not allowed to wear shorts on the show anymore. There is a no shorts rule
Internet,
on the show.
you're welcome. Because I don't know if
First
you
of all-
watched. I don't know if you watched the first one, but I'm one of the swamp 27,
27 now.
If you'd like to
27.
see
People-
approximately 17 inches of my thigh, if you go back to
that watched episode 1.
Yeah.
I was like, I would really like to hear what they're saying, but I can't get my eyeballs past their upper inner thigh. Like, I got to get past this. Too much hair and too much frozen turkey.
Yeah.
Like I got to get
Yep.
past it.
Yep.
And then we're
Frozen
past it. Look,
turkey.
we all
Here
got
we are.
pants
Everybody.
on. And
That now has been a rule that's been
Yeah.
implemented by Unc. Another rule.
Because you
1%
see
less
producers
hair every day.
Another one.
Another one.
All right, you were getting ready to say some good stuff just now. Continue.
Listen,
Continue.
it doesn't.
We're all over the
Not
place.
really.
It's okay.
I need a Celsius here to keep up with the tempo.
Shout
All
out
right,
to
so-
Celsius, who do not sponsor our podcast, but if they'd like to,
There's definitely an opportunity.
Corey LaJoy, have your people call our people.
I mean, we're
And,
up to like 7 NIL deals already
Yeah.
on this one, right?
Yeah.
Like
Shout,
Tops,
shout out to Seagram's Gin.
Federated Insurance.
Because I drink it, they're paying me for it.
All right. So, Wes, you've been asking a few questions.
Yep.
Uncle Nate, you came here with not only props and additions to the studio, but we have something up on the screen. I believe you prepared. These are talking points. If you
Yeah.
could just tell the people a little bit about what we're looking at and why these are important to you.
I mean, I think so. I have no business being on the internet, but I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about things that I love. It's sales,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'd love to talk about real estate,
Okay.
and I'd love to talk about life,
Life.
Okay.
Yeah.
and really life more so than the most.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Sure.
if you have conversations with your buddies, like you guys are my dogs, right? Like
That's
we have
right,
been
yep.
in it for.
How many chips and salsa have we eaten?
We've broken single sitting world records. Like they,
Unofficial.
when I go sit down at the Mexican restaurant, by the way, they bring me now 3 salsas. It
Yeah.
has gone from 1 to 2
Yeah, shout
to
out
now
shout
3.
out to Mestizos.
You know how on
And I'm
church
having lunch
pews
by
you got
myself.
your name on the pews? He has his name.
Oh no! Well, we
On
don't.
the table.
Ray, we don't know how people put names on the church pews because we are Caucasian.
You're right.
But I understand what you're saying. yeah.
Continue
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
Nate. Sorry.
But what we were saying was the truth is you just don't talk about real stuff.
Yeah,
Like
that's right.
Yeah.
you tend to chop it up with your buddies, and that's great. But like, how often are we sitting down
man.
and checking in on our friends?
Yes.
And to raise credit, like doing mental health Mondays.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I have tried. So my story diverges, and you kind of asked, how do you do the same thing for forever? Well, in 2003, I got a job at Federated. In 2007, I got engaged to my awesome wife. And then
Shout out, Jim.
Shout out, Jen.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm doing really good, and I'm working 78 hours a week managing this big thing for Federated. Like, felt like I was in over my head, didn't know what I was doing, had all the imposter syndrome on earth.
Yep.
Managing big sales teams. Yeah.
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 I mean,
You got a lot
Big,
of people
but
that are coming to you for advice, and you're a young.
I'm a
2000s,
28-year-old giving
28.
advice to 57-year-olds.
Got
And
it.
it felt
Yeah.
like
Wow.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
Sure.
Turns out I did.
Sure.
But I was like, man, I just don't feel good. I do not feel good. Like, maybe this is just how you work this is how you feel
Like
when you
health
work.
wise, you didn't feel good.
I would get up at 5 a.m. I would drive my 2 hours to go see my sales rep. I would sit in a meeting and I'd be spinning in the meeting. I'd be like upside down, feeling bad. It would like really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I made an excuse. I went to my credit. I went to the doctor,
Okay.
and the doctor's like, I mean, you're super healthy, because I was in pretty good shape at the time.
Yeah.
And so he's like, you're super healthy. I think you're fine. You know, we'll
No
schedule you.
reason for blood tests, right? So
Yeah, and so everything's fine. I'm like, cool, appreciate that. Still didn't feel good, and ignored the way I felt for months, maybe a year, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
Until sitting there, and we had a sales meeting in Michigan. I was supposed to go. I was like, this is really weird, but I can't go.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't go. My gut told me I couldn't go. I couldn't like make it up. Well, about 4 or 5 hours later, I start coughing up something, and I'm like, oh, it's really weird. This is like, oh man, I have a real cold. This is real bad.
Yeah.
And turns out Jen comes in. She's like, it's not supposed to look like that.
Mm.
And it turns out I was coughing up blood.
Ooh.
And so my kidneys were failing. Fast forward, go to the hospital. They think I have a whole bunch of different things because I'm so healthy. Otherwise, I can't have
Right.
it.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
finally end up having stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
I got stage 4 lymphoma. Probably been living with it for a year or two now that I look back on it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you see those symptoms
And you're
all add
20,
up.
29,
28,
Okay.
27 at the
Damn.
time, actually. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
And so I think the UNC title for me is because I've always felt like a 75. Before that, I've
Yeah.
always felt like a 75-year-old in a 25-year-old's body.
Yeah.
Now I might be a 105-year-old
Yeah, that's right.
in a 43-year-old's
Yeah,
body.
You got Benjamin Button syndrome.
Yeah, oh boy, of a great
Right.
mind.
That's right. That's right. But what it gave me was perspective, right?
Right.
And so like this is all fun and games, and we can have fun and games, and that's really what life is about. Is really about. I've sort of broken it down to like I've done the inner soul searching. I've almost died 3 times, and I'll save you the big long story on that. But I used to joke that I could still talk would be my joke, and then I was diagnosed with mouth cancer.
Then you couldn't talk.
And then they had to cut out my tongue. And so I almost couldn't talk. And so you'll realize at the end of the day, if you're hanging out with me, like my S's and T's will get real spitty and sloppy, but I'm missing a good chunk of my tongue.
Yeah.
And so
Wow.
crazy.
then I have no immune system. And then one time I had a cold and kind of like was like, oh, I'll figure it out. I'll do better. Still haven't learned, by the way.
Yeah.
And then went into septic shock and passed out and woke up like basically a day later with a bunch of IVs in me. And so I've almost died 3 times. I've had to prepare officially my affairs twice. I have written my will like I meant it. I injected myself with white blood cells behind the altar as I got married to my wife.
Wow.
And so you go out there and you have for better or for worse, and in sickness and in health, like people like couldn't get over that moment. Like it was like everybody's like, it's supposed to be fun, but it wasn't for a minute.
Right. Yeah.
But at least I sell life insurance. Anybody need life insurance? I'm good. But I had a bunch of it. So upside for Jen was like, hey, like I'm gonna do this, but like if not, he's an insurance salesman. So this is
We're
good
in a
shape.
good position either way. My God.
But if you boil it down, like I've had so many talks about this, and I've sat in the chemo chair next to people. 85% of the people that I sat next to in my study are dead.
Yeah.
I am one of the 15%. I have a lot of guilt. I have a lot of why still to this day. And so that's why I try so hard in every interaction in life to make sure that we're enriching. Like, I want you to know that I care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, when we all leave here, nobody gives a flying rip
Yeah.
Yeah, about what you did.
how much
or-
insurance you
Yeah,
sold,
That's right. That's right.
what
How
kind
big
of
your
car
house
you
is.
drove, what kind. It really comes down to who you loved,
Yeah.
who loved you,
Yeah.
My goodness.
who you wronged,
Yeah.
Mm.
and how much did you suffer or how much did you learn through
Yeah.
that suffering. So we are meant to be here to love and to suffer. And so
The dichotomy of that. Huh?
Yeah, man.
Wow.
It's heavy.
Man, can we?
it's
can we
heavy,
put some
but it's
flames on the
awesome. Like when
screen?
you
Yeah, right,
realize
right.
none of this matters
Yeah.
other
yeah.
than loving and suffering. So like if you're thinking about what you're doing today, like it's okay to suffer. If you got to make that extra cold call
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
or you got to make that extra podcast that everybody watching in the entire world, it's part of the suffering. It's part of the
Yeah.
learning experience.
Yeah.
But the reward that we are given for that by whatever God, universe, energy, being you believe in is the love part.
Yeah. That's great.
And so I say that and just say these times matter because I love you guys, right?
Yeah.
And
Love you-
I
love you
say I
too,
love
man.
you like it's like it is not discounted. It is like water. I will tell it to people
Yeah,
that
Yeah, that's true.
I
That's
just
right.
met,
Yes,
and
sir.
I will tell you, and I will mean it
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
because at the end of the day, that's what we're leaving this world with.
Yeah. That's right, man.
My goodness.
So lots to unpack there. But what comes up for me, what I heard, and I'm rough around the edges. You guys all know that it comes from the competitive lifestyle that I've been in with competitive sport. One of the best, most powerful mottos that you live by and how you deal with friction, I think, has been one of the most powerful things from business, treating people, and being a father, which is now the hardest thing I've ever done, that we'll ever
Good
do.
gracious.
Is
without a
about
doubt.
this velvet hammer approach that you have with your delivery and being caring, like getting your point across, but also being caring in the way that you do it. And man, it's the hardest thing ever to rewrite that. But
Do as I say, not as I
So-
do
so
always. But
let's unpack
Well,
let's unpack that for a second.
But to his
Yeah.
point, right? Like I think it's everybody knows the compliment sandwich, right? Like, hey, I really like those shoes that you're wearing today, and this is going terribly, and that hoodie's really nice, and it's like, well, that feels like shit and disingenuine, right? But the Velvet Hammer, which is, is we've called you that as a nickname for as long as I can remember. Like you really do care, right? Like I think that's the difference is like the way that you handle hard topics and hard conversations is so well received because I know that you really like care about me, or I know that you care about what we're doing and you're willing to like go have these hard conversations, and it like can't really hurt your feelings because I know you love me, So
Yep.
like I think that's the big difference there is like it's genuine,
Yeah, I mean, those genuine connections, we don't get as many as you would like in life,
Yeah.
but you will reap what you sow every
That's right.
time. And if you are not afraid to say what you mean to somebody, they will say that back to you, and that'll feel really good over time, even though it's really weird. And like, it's weird.
So
like,
weird.
let's just, and especially as dudes, let's just be honest. Like,
Yeah.
It's so hard not to have edges, not to be sharp, but your delivery is so fluffy and so well received at all times. And
it's like my
is-
midsection. My delivery is like my
Mine too.
midsection.
Mine
Strong core, but
yeah.
some extra.
And that Velvet Hammer component that bleeds through in everything that you do. You're a fantastic father, but also you're a hell of a salesman as well. And that leads into the way you sell. You seem to recruit and onboard people, big clients, with this mentality of approaching them, caring, and then being such an obvious partner for these individuals that they end up choosing you. It's like a Jedi Knight,
Sure.
Jedi mind trick,
yeah.
Wrapped into one. So, is that why you feel like? I mean, did you have that when you were leading your sales teams, or did that come by way of your experience with looking across the fence of death, man, looking on the other side?
Definitely got better looking at death. I mean,
Yeah.
I was a good salesman before, no doubt.
Yeah.
But definitely got better with perspective.
Sure.
And I mean, I try to advise people, not sell them.
Yep.
And so that carries over if we're going to hit the real estate piece of this.
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Yep. Let's go ahead down that street.
Yeah.
Emotion cannot be properly conveyed over the phone.
Right.
Like you can convey some things. It certainly cannot be conveyed via text.
Hell no.
And our world is going like more text,
Oh my
email.
God, it's brutal.
And
Yep.
I still pick up the phone.
Yep.
And so at least I'm getting you on the phone.
Yeah.
And Wes and I learned from one deal that there is no replacement for displacement of air or V8 engines, what my grandpa used to say, but air mostly. If you go stand in front of somebody,
That's right.
their statistics will show you that more than half of the people will do what you're asking. One, because they're uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but two, because you're hopefully leading them down the correct path.
Right.
And you're really solving a problem, and you're trying to move from being a salesperson into an advisor. And so in a deal, yeah, you got to make money and you got to figure it out. But if you need to, you got to figure out quickly how to solve the problem. And if you can get that in-person appointment, I'm using the phone to just set an appointment. And Wes and I learned this. We had a deal that
Biggest real estate deal I've ever had.
that either
by
of us
far.
will probably deal
Right.
with. Like, it's just like
An absolute unicorn.
you don't get these, but and that's another point I put up there is like sales is about swings, right? You have to get up there and you got to hit the pitch that's thrown to you. Like
Yeah.
I can't hit a homer or grand slam off of a 65-mile-an-hour changeup. Like,
Sure.
it's got to be a fastball down the middle. You
Yeah,
got to figure
that's
that
right.
out.
Yeah.
But if you displace air and you go and you solve the problem, we found out that in person, we had the biggest deal that we would ever get because we solved the problem. We were emotionally sensitive, listened to that person talk about basically their whole life, their dreams, their goals.
Yep.
For how long? I mean,
Hours. It felt
hours and
like.
hours.
Yeah.
Only to solve the problem for them, only to get ourselves the biggest deal that we've ever had to propel us to do things like buy a studio and
Right.
like all those
Yeah.
things. And you're hoping that you get one of those every now and then. But if you're connecting with that person in person, it's undefeated.
Yeah.
There's certainly different types of sales where you got to do it via text,
Right. Right.
but I would use text, phone, in person, just try to hedge your way down that cycle as fast as you possibly can.
And now more than ever with the economy and such, people are wanting to, especially when it comes to our arena, sell to real people. You know,
Right.
some of the comments I see on ads all over the place are people not wanting to sell to iBuyers, not wanting to sell to hedge funds, wanting to sell to real people, and don't necessarily trust the internet and the offers that they can receive from bigger institutions. So now more than ever in our industry, we're trying to get into into the living room and sit and connect.
People.
As long as it's not deals that I sent Jordan on yesterday, which was
all right. Are you ready?
I do want to hear this.
We sent Jordan on a dummy mission yesterday, y'all. And he's still hot.
Unfortunately.
He's still hot about it.
If anybody is around Davidson in about 30 minutes, we're gonna go to lunch. Wes is paying, and I would like to cordially invite you as a guest, because I would like to spend as much of this guy's money as possible. So we get a lead in.
Lead comes in from a Facebook ad.
Comes in from a Facebook ad.
Lancaster, South Carolina.
Shout out to Facebook.
We're
Lancaster,
doing
South Carolina. Now, point of order here. It's Lancaster. It's not Lancaster.
Not Lancaster.
Lancaster's in Pennsylvania.
You will be shot.
It will get you made fun of real fucking quick. Lancaster, South Carolina.
I hop on the call.
Yep.
These inbound leads from Facebook are revolutionary because these people want to talk to you.
Yes.
Whereas the outbound call,
inbound versus
cold calls,
outbound marketing.
It's a different game. So, anyways, I hop on the call with this guy, and we proceed into a 35, I think 36 minute.
Man.
He's a talker. 36-minute conversation,
talker.
and I'm taking him all over the map with trying to diagnose what the condition of the property is, and so on and so forth. And he leads me to believe we've got something to work with. Ray, you were there for that
diamond in the rough.
conversation.
We thought it was a diamond in the rough.
You know, for context, we've been focusing our fix and flip efforts on 1980 or newer homes, right? So that we can get in and out, cosmetic rehabs, maybe a roof, maybe an HVAC unit. We can get in and out of those in like under a month, right? So, especially with it being towards the end of the year, you know, stuff kind of powers down during the winter. We're trying to get flips that we can get in and out of pretty quickly, right? So I drive, and this is on me, but I had some other appointments, and so I was kind of like all over the place yesterday. I was in Fort Mill. We got a project going there.
Pause really quickly. The reason I called you to, normally I don't hit the bat phone for Jordan to show up for something unless we feel it's real. From a number standpoint, got one at 165, 175.
Yeah.
Our ARV after rehab value was with a 3 on it, 315. So we're thinking ding, ding, ding.
And like had a direct comp right behind his house.
And this was on Monday. Yesterday, he sends us a text at 9 a.m. in the morning, like, "Oh, hey, you know, I'm not so sure that I want to."
He gets squirmy.
I think I'm leaving some stuff on the table. And I call him immediately. Hey, listen, just let us have a look at it. We're not going to come and beat you up. If we look at it and it's not something we want to proceed, we'll let you know right away. So at least let us come look. He's cut back to Jordan. All right. I'll see you at 3 p.m.
Yeah. So I
Jay.
So I get there. So in preparation for going, I had to look up the address, and you know, we use Zillow. Say what you want about Zillow, but it's a data company, right? So they pull historical data. And I said, Wes, this is saying that it's a we didn't have any pictures of the house.
Yeah.
I said, hey, this is saying this is a mobile or a manufactured home. No. I'm looking at Street View. It looks like a brick.
It's got brick veneer.
It's got brick all over it. I'm looking at the same Street View. It looks like stick built, probably just an air or cool, whatever. So I get in Lancaster. I get out of my truck. This dude has 2 big ass dogs that are like slobbering all over my leg. And
didn't start well.
So
and I'm like, okay, cool. Like it looks like a brick house, right? So I'm walking up to him, and I was like, now, you know, what's the story here? Like, how long have you lived here? And he's like, well, when I bought this land, it was just land, and then we put this double wide on it. And I said,
wait.
I said, oh, this is a double wide. And he said, well, yes, sir, but I put this brick around it. And I was like, oh.
Nice apron.
Okay. No, it's all the way up the sides.
Literally
bricked over the siding.
So he's a mason.
That entire family did not want anybody to know that was a double wide.
So, you know, if you don't know much about real estate, manufactured homes I actually think they're a great product, but there's some lending requirements and restrictions on it. I mean, they're made, instead of being site built, like built on site, they're made in a factory. They're shipped in on a truck, and then if it's a double wide, it's literally 2 halves seamed together. but they're just not as valuable as stick built homes, right? The value is different. So we had run our comps all wrong. It's definitely not worth $315,000, and I'm like, oh my god, this sucks. But it's okay because we flipped shout out to Turkey Lane. We flipped a single wide.
Unc was our capital partner.
Shout out to Valley Mirror.
Valley Mirror. Yeah.
So we ain't scared.
We're not scared. Right. But I'm like, okay, well, let's go in. And he was like, all right, well, come on in. So we opened the door, and I step into the house. Well, I know you can't see on the screen. I'm 6'2.5", so I'm a pretty big ass dude.
Now wait a second. I'm 6'3".
Not sure
and
6'2.5" is real, but we'll go.
But could we get a wall measurement to be inserted
after the show?
We're just throwing it out there. But okay, go ahead.
I'm 6'2".
Go ahead with the truthful part of your story now. Go ahead.
I step in and I almost hit my head on the ceiling, and I'm like, this is weird. So I'm walking around. The whole house smells like dog, both pet dander and urine. It's filthy, and he's like, man, I'm sorry, I was trying to get it cleaned up. I'm like, hey buddy, you can't clean this up. And so I'm walking around, coming to find out he had put 3/4 inch hardwoods on top of the existing flooring and had drywalled the ceilings with 5/8 inch drywall.
He had some quality materials.
Great materials. So I'm like walking around, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go get a couple things out of my truck. So I come back with a tape measure. All the ceilings in the house measure 82.5 inches.
Tell the people why that's important.
Because in order to count it as heated square footage, it has to be 84 inches tall. It has to be
That's a good little knowledge bomb. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right. So in order for an appraiser,
he dropped that on us yesterday.
in order for an appraiser to count it as heated living area, it has to be 7 foot ceilings. So the entire house is 0 square feet. It's a double wide trailer. This quarter brick, half a brick, whole brick. Yeah. It's terrible condition. And then he's like, well, I saved this room for last because this is, And so he opens this door to what had once been a patio that they had finished in.
Okay.
And he had told Wes that there was a small roof leak.
That he had ripped up the area to try to figure out where the water was coming from.
I wish I could
ripped up the area was a gross
It looked like a basement from a Saw movie.
It was a patio. Oh,
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And so I'm like, oh my God. So I took some pictures and I said, yeah, I'm gonna let Wes give you a call and we'll go from there. But it was all the things you don't want to see in a property
wrapped up in one.
So
that's why.
Needless to say,
that's why we got
here we are.
If you don't go, you don't get
free lunch.
That's right. And
waiters get tips.
And it was the reason you speak of Valley Mirror. It was another trailer that or manufactured home that if we didn't show up that day, we don't win that deal because it was going squirrely with another investor. And because we showed up, sat down with her, listened to her story, also in chemo, dealing with cancer. You had the connection with Ross.
Yep.
We don't get that deal.
And again, I mean, the conversation we had when I'm leaving Lancaster to drive the 40 minutes back to my house.
Okay, I hear you, bro.
I'm just giving you.
It's an hour and 40 minutes back to my house, uphill
in the snow. But no, but the conversation we had was like, okay, well, what's the land worth? Like, because there's a solution to any property has an exit strategy.
Yep.
Right now, this exit strategy is not going to work for this guy because
it's a tear down potential that you could subdivide the lots and build a house. The builder that we work with doesn't build in Lancaster. The only way this deal is going to work is at land value, and it's an heirloom. He was raised in the house. He raised his kids in the house. His parents his mother just passed. Yeah. He's moved his dad in with him to be the caretaker. And so, anyways, beyond that, I don't think without your tutelage before, I don't think we prioritize those circumstances and go sit in and take advantage of getting in with these people and displacing air as you call it. Right?
I applaud you. It is undefeated to go down there. Every story you have like that, you learn something.
That's right. 100%.
I learned that 84, what is it? 84 and a half?
84 inches, yeah.
84 inches.
7 feet.
You learned that you're not 6'2". Like everybody learned a little bit of something from that we could take.
Now, now more than ever, and I want to get to the sales component because we've really never unpacked a lot of that knowledge base. We've had a lot of conversations, but moving towards that in these inbound leads, speed to lead is the most
Paramount.
important thing. So when the lead comes in, you have to be on top of it. We've got, automated emails, text, and the only heavy lift now is the call, right? So it's on us to make the call, on us to discover and figure out whether it's worth spending, tier one, all the energy and moving forward on.
Can I say something on the call?
Yeah.
So
Let's do that.
I want to compliment you guys on your approach, right? As an insurance nerd or sales guy that's sitting around watching you guys, and we've spent
Hours.
years
Years.
in the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
office. Like I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. Like just yelling down the hall. No, please don't. Like, you guys are a group of doers, right? Like a lot of people sit around and talk about it.
Yeah.
Some people think they are about it.
Yeah.
But you're going to be about it. Like
That's right.
you guys will do.
Well, I'll speak for myself. Just not smart enough to think myself out of the situation. Just go.
Yeah.
But your
if you don't know,
underwriting
go.
has gotten so much
Dial.
better.
Well, because we've lost so much money on
and also-
bad experiences.
But
Thank
it's tuition.
goodness.
But it's tuition.
Can we also
Yeah.
just take 2
100%.
seconds
Yeah.
to shout out a person who's been a part of that growth in underwriting, Miss Jody,
Jody.
and the system
Put
she
some
has put
flames
in
on the screen
place.
for Joe to see. Yeah.
Just for 2 seconds.
But
She's
no matter
behind
how
the
good
screen
your
right now.
underwriting is, you cannot get around the fact that sellers are full of shit at times. And
100%.
so let's move that to sales, like some high level key components for your mindset with sales and what separates an elite salesperson versus everybody else.
So the ability to establish rapport immediately is maybe the difference
Yeah.
between okay and exceptional.
Okay.
And that rapport, you guys are doing a great job with your ads because you're not taking yourselves too seriously.
Right.
Like life should be about that. Like
We're
if
not
you
taking
get-
ourselves seriously at all.
At all.
correct, right?
At all.
And we probably lost a lot of deals because we don't look like people that can buy houses in our sales,
Maybe,
right?
maybe, but I think that the real person is going to win every time. And I've seen it in insurance sales. Usually, when you say I'm an door-to-door insurance salesman, people turn and they run, don't walk, to the nearest exit.
Yeah.
And that's the interaction.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I remember I'd be at the bars pre-finding Jen to put up with me for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Shout out to
Shout
Jen
out,
again.
Jim.
Shout out, Jim.
So we would go to the bar and my buddy was selling pharmaceuticals, right? And that's pretty cool. Like that was a big deal back then.
Sure.
And we'd go and he'd be like, "What do you do?" And he'd be like, "Oh, I sell pharmaceuticals." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, all right, cool.
What
What's
about
your
you,
name?
Nate? What do you do?
What do you do? What's your name?" And I'd be like, and I'd try to like figure out what to say. I'd be like, I'm an insurance broker. Like give any fancy consultant, advisor, like any fancy name on the end of that you could put
No.
on there.
No.
And then I realized
work.
that just does not ever work. And so the self-deprecation piece to it on the phone or on the video, it took me 13 years to figure it out. Cold calls, I'm an insurance nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
we say that insurance
we
nerds.
took-
We
yeah.
use
Real
that.
estate
Real
nerds.
estate nerds.
Yeah.
We've taken so many gems from y'all, Nate. It's
Just
crazy.
literally punch yourself right in the face first.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they realize, wait a
If
second.
you punch yourself first, they can't punch you.
Right. Right. So, but at least you're self-deprecating. So they're like,
Right.
listen, at least the ego's out of the way.
Right.
Yeah.
Because on a cold call, for goodness sake, all they're trying to figure out is how you're hosing them down.
Right.
If they realize you're a real person, pretty quickly
They'll
Yeah.
open
you'll
up.
establish rapport. So
right.
that ability to establish rapport and that self-deprecation is the key to doing that.
Yeah.
And the way you're doing these videos is undefeated. Like I'm getting text messages from my wife's friends in different cities, like, aren't you friends with these dudes? Like, what is happening? And so that deprecation is the ability to establish rapport is all you're doing.
Which is the avatar tell, the connective piece that gets you further down the way in the deal and get you into the house.
correct.
Right.
Then you're going to demonstrate expertise. You're going to flip the switch quick, like go from self-deprecating, I'm a real nerd at this, and like,
Advisor.
are you
Yeah.
just a joke, to dropping a bunch of knowledge bombs on these people, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second,
They know what they're doing.
I trust this person. So
Yeah.
build trust,
Yeah.
then demonstrate expertise. I stole this right out of the Federated Sales book, so sorry for that.
Shout out
Right.
Federated.
Shout
They've
out
been doing it
Federated.
121 years. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Doing something right.
they're doing something
Yeah.
right. Build trust, demonstrate expertise, close the sale. And you're building that trust, and then you have to demonstrate the expertise by like, oh, these ceilings aren't 84 inches, and you're
Yeah.
like, he's like, oh,
Yeah.
and then, but here's how and then you're solving the problem.
I heard
Mm.
David Hoffman say. David Hoffman followed me on Instagram this morning. Shout out David.
Shout
Hoffman.
out David Hoffman.
I heard David Hoffman say, "Be the expert, be the friend, be present."
Great.
That's strong.
Pretty close to what we're saying,
Yeah,
right? Like
right.
it's like
Yeah.
every.
Yeah.
It's like maybe there's something to this
Yes.
guy. You
Yeah.
know?
The sales book is the sales book is
Yeah,
the
it's the
sales
sales
book.
Well, let's
right.
talk about the art of the close as well, because a lot of people are great at rapport.
Yep.
But rapport building and deal closing,
Two
completely
things.
different
Yeah.
things. So what do you know about closing sales that is also in a derivative to success?
You have to lead the horse to water, and then you have to uncomfortably sit with the horse
Mate the ask. Yeah.
and
All right,
ask the
bud.
horse to drink the water.
All right, bud, thirsty yet?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
still here, like, hey, you said this is your problem. This is what needs to be solved. Here's the solution. You said this was the reason that you wouldn't do it. Well, we've now removed that objection from there. I'm sitting here staring at the water. Is there a reason that we wouldn't be able to buy the insurance policy, sell the house today? What else do I need to do? What other barrier, what other solution do I need to figure out or offer you to get the deal done today? And then you wait.
Yeah.
Like this is not a good group for this because we're all talkers. But ready? Let's do 5 seconds of silence. Ready? You can't do it.
It's hard.
God,
It's
that's
so awkward, right? So asking for the sale
And then
or
just
asking for
shutting
the
up.
close and then shutting up would be very helpful. And then people will generally they have to fill that silence.
because it's so uncomfortable. They got to
that's
talk,
strong.
man.
Man, that's
Yeah,
strong.
it's
So
great.
you've given them all the answers to all their problems. You've gotten all their issues out of the way. You've removed all the objections. You've solved all the. Now you have to ask and be uncomfortable while you wait for that horse to drink.
So
that
I
water.
saw it happen real
My
time,
goodness.
and the real estate deal that we did was a luxury deal. The reason that we got into the house was because when we got the lead from outbound text messaging years ago, said that's a great lead. That person wants a reasonable price. Get in the truck. We're going. And instantly,
We didn't
I'm not
text them
comfortable-
back.
I'm
There
not
was no
comfortable
more.
knocking doors, but was, and we hopped in the truck. And we drove to the house, knocked on the door, wasn't there. Went back to the truck, got a piece of paper, wrote on the piece of paper. And if we hadn't left that piece of paper, we'd have
Wow.
never gotten called back. And
Wow.
we're sitting on the deck, the back deck, looking over Lake Norman, directly due west at a beautiful view on this house. And Nate hits this seller and his wife with that exact awkward silence. And I saw the shift. I mean, I will never forget seeing the shift in the energy to where it looked like they had become comfortable. And I got back in the car and I go, I think we're going to get this deal. And from an economic standpoint, I mean, they wanted 1.6. We had a potential seller or buyer at 2.4 off market. So you do the math.
By the way, don't argue with people when they give you a fair number.
Yeah.
Like just shut up
Yeah, get out of there.
and take the deal. Like he offered that to us in text.
Yeah.
And we were like,
And
we're
we
driving
showed
there
up.
immediately.
And
Our
this-
job is to not screw it up now.
This was an educated seller,
Wow.
ready to get back in Raleigh to Raleigh, close to family, and 1.6. Kind of, there was more steps and follow up along the way, but 1.6 got the deal.
And it's
done.
never as easy as you always think,
Right.
because then there was hair and there was all the weirdness and all
yeah.
the.
And, we got buyers in there, and the right buyer came. And shout out to Liz Miller for coordinating all of that. And
Shout
we
out
got the
Liz
deal
Miller.
closed. And when I saw the preliminary HUD come back, I remember being like, there was a 6 in front of that number. And I remember being like, is this going to happen? And you're like, I don't know. But like, if it does, it'll be awesome. Deal closed. Wire hit the account. And I remember just being like, it was just an idea that you and I had in the office. You were like, hey, what if we just did a geofence around the peninsula and talk to those type sellers? And I'm like, well, I don't have that kind of money. He's like, well, neither do I, but we can figure that piece out. And I don't live on the street that I live on without that. I'm not able to buy the office from you. We're not able to have done the things that we did.
Yeah.
And that propelled, I mean, it was life-changing circumstance. And you come out of that, and if you know, for me, from a paradigm shifter, if I can see a deal at that level closed, any of the deals that we see come across, that's easy, right? That changes the game from a belief system standpoint. So the
and then
comfortability
God
there is
rewarded you with 100 deals after that also had a 6 in front of them. $600.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But that's how it works. Like,
That's
that
right.
is
Say
just-
one deal makes it real.
One deal.
That's it.
Makes it real.
That was the first luxury deal. We've done a few after that, none of which we continue to chase the unicorn and had some good at bats. But since then, and since Island Forest, we have exited the luxury game
RIP
entirely.
I'm going
until
to
better
put that
days.
thing on life support. I am not yet dead on luxury.
Well,
Throwing it out there.
You told us not to buy that house 6 times over, and you know
we didn't listen to you.
we didn't listen.
All right, so
Yeah.
we got to land this
Love you
plane,
anyway,
but I
guys.
do want to. There are some things that you wrote on the back of the sheet.
Yeah.
that I just want to fire off real quick. You spoke a lot about perspective, and the first thing I see is have to versus get to.
Mm.
Can you just give me just why you wrote that down and what that means?
It's the same. You're going to deal with the same stuff every day to the most part. Like, everybody's got a deal. I always joke that 80%, maybe now with kids, is like 84% of my day is made up for me. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
And so I have to remember this myself sometimes. So it's good for me to write it.
Yeah.
But when you're almost dead, which I've been, it's like,
Yeah.
man, what I wouldn't give for another day of monotony.
Wow.
Like, what I wouldn't. You really, like, you remember the really good times and you remember the really low times, but what you ask for is just another day. And then, so when you look at your day at 4:45 or 6 in the morning, whatever time it is,
Yeah.
if you have to do what you have to do that day, it's going to feel very different than you get to do what you're going to do that day.
That's
And
right.
it's
Wow.
like
Just a minor perspective change.
every 10 minutes
Yeah.
you have to remind yourself, because we're
Every 10
weird humans. Like, we have that same loop of stuff.
Yeah.
But I get to most of the time.
Yeah.
Versus have to.
Yeah. It's great.
Beautiful. Next you have on here, don't quit, you're doing great. Every time I see you or I leave you,
Every time.
Uncle Nate, you always say you're doing great.
Yeah.
When did that become a part of your
Self-talk.
It hasn't been that long that I've been doing that.
okay?
I mean, and when you're 43, like, that long could be like, I've been doing it for 12 years. But I have learned that, like, even the best of the best, strongest of the strongest, they need a check-in and they need a reminder. And like, just the fact that you're doing it every day and you're not having pretty significant issues is awesome. And you have to tell people that. And I don't know if you guys have probably gotten a text from me at some point, but I try my best. If I think about somebody, that's what I send them. Like, literally, if they cross my mind, I'll just send it to them.
Hang in there. You're doing
Oh
great.
man, that's strong.
Yeah. And so then you're getting a touch and you just want people to know you're thinking about it. Because how many you think about other people, it's got to be no less than 100 times a day.
Right.
I don't send 100 of these, but I bet you I send 10 of them.
Yeah, that's great.
Man,
And I think it makes a difference. I don't know if it does, but I
absolutely.
know
Well,
that.
I've received it and it does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's to me, as one little thing that I'd like to
That's
leave
great.
this earth with is that little reminder that
Yeah.
you are doing great.
Yeah.
Like, we're all doing great. And just to be honest, none of this matters, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
None of this
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
This matters,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And the feeling, the
Yes,
energy,
sir.
the exchange, or camaraderie.
but
that-
none of this.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
none of the other
Like,
stuff. Yeah.
Anything we just talked about does not matter.
Yeah.
None of it.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to give credit to my grandpa because I've been saying it that long. He's a cool dude. But
Shout out, Grandpa.
if the problem can be solved with money, it's not a real problem.
Yeah, that's right.
Ooh, say that again, Uncle Nick, for the
If
people
the
in the back.
problem can be solved with money,
Uh-huh.
it's not a real problem.
Not a real problem.
And every time I try to defeat that, like, and there's a money problem that because I've had some things in my life that have needed a lot of money thrown at them to be fixed. A lot of them are stupid investments,
Sure.
but it's really not a problem.
Yeah.
Like, as long as I can get up and go again tomorrow, I'll make more money and figure that out.
Yeah, that's right.
But if it has to do with your health or your relationships or your family, that can't be bought.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so just invest in the things that don't require money.
I hate that we're having to land this plane. We got to talk about how long we're going to go on these things. I just think there's a lot continued to go here. But one of the last components that we'd be remiss if we go to lunch and we hadn't asked this is you talk about how important it is for go getting checked up. Talk about your health, right? Getting blood work and making that making a day for that, because we all have time to put towards that, but it can feel like a task and so on and so forth. But
you get to.
Yeah, you get to go.
If you're taking notes,
your
you
health.
get to go get stabbed.
Come on, man.
And you get to go get
talk about it.
Weird.
I mean, is it biannually? Is it quarterly? Like,
It's
what's
at
your
least
suggestion?
annually.
Sure, at least.
Like, this is like it's Captain Obvious here. I'd like to give a message. It's at least annually.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is most certainly, if something doesn't feel right, take it from me, the guy who has ignored that no less than 3 times. Actually, I'd saved my life on mouth cancer because of the lesson I learned from the first time.
Okay.
I went to a dentist. I went to an oral surgeon. I went to an ENT. So I went to 4 separate, and I went to a regular doctor. I was like, my tongue doesn't feel right. I don't like it. It's just, it doesn't look like a big deal, but it's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not right. Because the first time around, the symptoms kept punching me in the face, and I was like, I can deal with this. I can deal with this. Until I couldn't. And so on the second time around, I was like, that's not right. But I'll be darned if I didn't go to 4 different doctors. And finally, I was like, listen, I'm not giving you the copay today unless you biopsy this thing. And he's like, whoa, we're not going there. He's like, I'm like 3 appointments away from that. I was like, nope. I've already done the 3 appointments with all these 3 people, and it's still not right. You're biopsying this deal today. That's why I'm here. He's like, okay, that's really weird. And he called me back, to his credit, at 9:30 p.m. that night. And when that phone rang, I was like,
Wow.
Wow.
but you got to follow your gut on this stuff. If you don't feel good, you've got to go. And so, like, dudes, especially, this is a message to idiot dudes.
Talk to this camera right now.
Message to you idiots. Go and get the work done. It's easy. Just get it done.
So I got to go in every 90 days for my Adderall prescription and get checked up to make sure I'm not a psychopath on the amphetamines.
Who's checking that?
I now, and so now I
like to talk with the
that.
licensing board.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we could have done the checkup
Who's
today.
signing off on that?
So I now implement it into every of my 90
That's
days. I get my blood work done. It's just,
that's awesome.
It's just a part of the play.
that's great.
And I have discovered during that time, my liver levels were high. I was taking too much ibuprofen. And have been able to dial back things. And there are many ways, approachable ways as well, for you to send off swabs. For you to check on your allergies, on things that you're eating that your body doesn't like, that could lead to illness and sickness. And
Vitamin D too. That was on my thing.
Yeah, you had that written down. Yeah.
So I went to this. How long we got?
We're
Quick.
we
ready?
got as much time as you
the
got.
best.
Plenty of tape.
The best lymphoma doctor in the country, arguably, Wyndham Wilson. I'm getting done with treatment at National Cancer Institute in Bethesda. I get done. I'm like, okay, well, this is great. Like, I'm done. He's like, yeah, you're done. By the way, he gives you advice. Like, this dude is so smart. He just can't, like, he has to speak to you the way that you are.
Yeah.
I was like, 2 things. What can I do? I was like, what do I eat? Like, what do I do?
Right.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you're fat.
It's like Dr. No on
He looked at me on the BMI, and I was like, well, I just got done with chemo.
Said, I think I'm just retaining water.
Right.
He said,
You
but
need those
it's
type
true.
of doctors.
You're fat.
you're fat. Yeah.
And vitamin D. He said, I can't really, like, I don't have scientific or empirical evidence to state that, like, vitamin D is the thing. I can just tell you that I've been doing this for a long time. And the people that I see in here are generally vitamin D deficient. And if I'm not a doctor. So
and is he talking like actual vitamin D or like just get outside?
Both.
Okay. Both.
Both do the same thing.
Yeah. Right.
Not too much outside because you get skin cancer, but vitamin D. I take 2,000 IU of vitamin D twice a day.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's why I'm still here. I don't know. That and God's grace.
Come on,
Yeah.
brother.
But vitamin D, like it's the thing I learned from the best dude in
There
the
you go.
country.
Vitamin D.
And we're all deficient. If you get your blood work.
Yeah.
We're
So all that
deficient.
to say, if you hadn't learned anything else today,
Yeah.
go buy some vitamin D.
One of the things we pride ourselves on is giving not only each other our flowers, but our guests our flowers.
Yeah,
so
man.
as we land this plane, I
Yeah.
want us to go around. What's one thing you've learned or love about Uncle Nate?
Oh man, you have been genuine since the moment I met you, and it makes me feel like we're old friends, even though we're not.
We are.
We are, yeah, but we're not, but we are, right? And so, man, it's inspiring to me to watch you on this side, right? Like, I don't really give a shit about if you're great at selling insurance or not,
Yeah.
Yep.
But what I know about you as a friend and as a husband and as a dad and as a man is inspiring. And that's why I'm proud to call you uncle, is because I want to be like you when I grow up,
Amen
even
to
though
that.
we're not that far off in age. And so I just appreciate you and love you a whole bunch. And I think you're doing great.
Do we?
Yeah.
When's the part when we cry? Is it
Right.
you- right now.
I don't know.
Yeah,
my
yeah,
my
you're
tear
good.
duct is
All right.
welling up.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
man, it's okay to cry as well,
Yeah,
by the
that's
way.
right.
Uncle Nate, I want to say since the day I met you, man, you've shown me nothing but love. And you've always been a joy and you've always believed in me. So I want to say thank you. And you helped me realize that you do not have to be blood related to somebody for them to be family.
Come on,
So
man.
you are really
Yeah,
my
that's great.
uncle, man. Thank you, bro.
How you
Yeah,
gonna
love
make
you,
me
Ray.
follow both
Hey,
of those?
man.
Love you too, Les. We're good. Pick
yeah.
Joe Montana. Get
Can we cut now? Cut.
it.
Mine will lend to you, man. I never realized how serious I take things, or I have taken things, until you were a mirror and we spent a lot of time with each other. And it just comes back to unpacking a lot of stuff that comes from the competitive landscape and how I was raised. And so you've really helped take a lot of edges off for me and mature me as really a young kid coming into this office. Number one, you helped me grow a business that wasn't a business in the beginning, turned
It is
to a
now.
fantastic team with a really cool direction and a sharpness about ourselves. So, and I don't know if I lead it all, but I feel like now more than ever, my relationship with the group is so much better because I'm getting fluffier and being more gentle. And then lastly, the proximity of being close to you as a dad and a husband, and getting to see not just what you're teaching me here in the office, but like how you're raising your kids.
Got to put in the
How
work
you're
on yourself
and you put a lot of
to
work
be able to work on your kids.
That's right, man. And I see, like, outside with the kids, I see getting a boat for your younger boys to be able to have experiences and get out and take the boat and go do the things that young boys should do, and teaching them about investing and loving on them for how different they are, and if they like music, pushing them towards it, and helping them become good human beings that are kind in the world. So I would say that word kindness, like what I've learned from you about being kind and not everything being a competition and making other people better, having left them, is the most important thing that you've taught me. And then there's nothing better than a great friend.
Yeah.
You're an awesome friend. You show up at our house, you'll knock on the door, you bring things.
Yeah.
And you're always, you're just always thinking about other people.
Quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes. Now it's your time. You got the ball.
This
Real
might be
quick.
for the nightcap.
But open that right now. It's never been open. 1990, 1991, complete set of
Never
Topps
been
football.
open, y'all.
If you pick the Joe Montana out of there, you get to keep it up here.
There is a Joe Montana.
Wait,
in
does
there?
everybody
You're
get a
damn
pick?
right there's a Joe Montana.
Does everybody get a pick?
Sure. I guess so. This feels risky. I don't actually want to give away the Joe Montana, but here we go.
We're not keeping
not-
the
we're
Joe
not keeping-
Montana.
we're just gonna-
That's
Don't
Shout
look-
out Joe Montana.
sacrilegious.
Don't
Ringgold
look
High
at it.
School, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pick and don't
Here, let
look.
me
Pick
hold
and
it, you
don't
pick.
look. Pick and don't look.
All right, you guys went on that side of it. I'm going to go all the way over here.
If you pick the Joe Montana,
Don't look. You literally just broke
sorry,
the rule.
sorry.
I'm good. I don't have to pick. I know I picked. It's in here.
All right, Jordan, who you got?
Andre Ware from the Lions.
Ooh, that's a pretty good one.
That is a good one.
I have
Perennial All Pro.
Sims likes his OJ. Why is
That's Phil Sims.
Okay.
Man, that storyline hasn't aged well.
That's Phil Sims. And I got Ruben Davis of the
Ruben
Temple
Big
Bay
Rube,
Buccaneers.
Big Rube.
Ruben Sutter.
All right. Well,
at
didn't
some
pick
point,
Joe Montana.
I say Joe Montana.
Montana.
I just want you guys to know that I love you. I really do.
We love you too, Unc.
The energy that you guys have brought to my life, just to be honest, has reinvigorated my whole thing. Like sitting in this office and sharing it with you guys has been an actual gift to me because like you do the same thing for 21 years, the same act, same tree. It's cool and it's awesome. And I'm super grateful for it. But to see the energy that you guys bring every day and the way that you're going about stuff and learning and running your head against the wall. And now to see this successful business and this team of shared experiences, people, it's awesome. Like it is incredible. And you're doing great.
Thanks,
Don't quit.
Thanks, man.
You guys are doing great. Thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely.
We'll continue to improve the experience. Don't know that we can improve upon the guests and the lessons imparted, but appreciate all you guys for showing up. If you've got suggestions of individuals that you'd like to be on the show next, that'd be great. Unc, anybody that comes to your mind that we need to have in the studio moving forward?
I mean, I got a bunch of suggestions. I spend more time thinking about this than you guys know.
Throw out the first one that comes to mind.
I mean, Michael Jordan would be great. And he lives down the road. Like, I know where his mom lives. We go. Like, we'll go knock on the door.
We get Mama
Let's try
Jordan
that.
on the couch.
But I think the stories of everyday people, I think,
that's right.
are perhaps more interesting
Agreed.
than the stories that you know.
The big people. The big individuals. Anybody?
He just said it, Mama Jordan. Ladies
Jordan.
and gentlemen.
Ray, don't bend those cards.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, want to shout out one more time to Jody for working the cameras and the production. Thank you all for always showing up every week, and we will see you
Next week.
Next week,
ya.
baby.
AC Slaters.
Deuces.